In 1941, the U.S. Army purchased 17,000 acres of land in Weldon Springs for the production of explosives used in World War II. 10 years later, the same site was used for the nuclear bomb production during the Cold War. The town was permanently evacuated days prior, and the land was used solely for bomb making. Later, the land was abandoned with filthy and dangerous radioactive chemicals scattered throughout the miles of land. When the EPA discovered this site, they were puzzled with what to do with the copious amounts of mercury, TNT, and other harmful chemicals. It was already a mystery on how to clean it up, but how to fix the damage already done by the chemicals sitting out and polluting the air. Their solution was to cover these chemicals with layers of clay, stone, and various other substances to try to capture the deadly effects of these chemicals. Now, science has progressed a lot in the last couple of decades, so do we know for sure the substances aren't leaking and or evaporating out of the stone? How do we know the stone and clay are overpowering the radioactive and strong substances? This is where we come in. We spent weeks investigating this site. Is the government trying to cover up their poor choices in the past? Are chemicals still being polluted into the air we all breathe? But first, we wanted to consult with one of our science teachers here at Lindbergh High School to see the effects that nuclear waste can have on the human body.
My name is Mr. Marquardt, and I teach AP Environmental Science here at Lindbergh High School along with Earth Science.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly radiation is?
Wow, so radiation is essentially we have radioactive elements that release a type of energy. It's an electromagnetic energy. That's what radiation is. So there are radioactive elements on our planet, and they emit this radiation at a certain frequency in a wavelength that's invisible to the human eye, but can damage human tissue and human organs and such.
Is there a difference between nuclear waste and radiation?
Well, I think that they are similar, but there is a difference. So radiation is probably being emitted from the nuclear waste. So nuclear waste could hold radiation. So in some circumstances, it could be if they were building nuclear bombs, maybe the clothing or the gloves or the things that workers were using could be considered nuclear waste, but they could have that element on them and emitting that harmful radiation.
Mm-hmm. And for things such as constructing explosives, what do you think the lifespan of the radiation would be?
Okay, so for constructing explosives, so you're talking about like nuclear bombs and such? That's a really good question. It just depends on what radioactive isotope they're using to make that bomb. I think that may be a question I would have to look up a little bit, but my understanding is that they use plutonium, maybe, and those have a very, very long half-life, which is another term to understand when it comes to nuclear radiation. Half-life is the amount of time it takes for half of that radioactive element to decay into something that is stable. Some of these can be hundreds and thousands of years, so literally those things can be harmful for an extremely long time.
And so in Weldon Springs, they put stone on top of the radioactive things. Do you think that it still has the capability to seep through and do damage?
From what I understand, they did a really good job of entombing the waste at Weldon Springs. With the technology that we have today, I think they did the best that they could. They do have ways to monitor and go around to see if there is radiation being leaked out. I think that they're being pretty successful of that not happening. Now, if there was some sort of tragic like earthquake or some sort of, if you were to drop like a bomb, God forbid, or something like that, it could be open and exposed once again.
The legacy of radioactive waste in St. Louis is a complex story involving an unprecedented and top-secret mission that launched the United States into the nuclear age. It's a story about how Mallinckrodt Chemical Company became the world's first industrial-scale producer of uranium metal and uranium oxide. It's a story about how uranium produced by Mallinckrodt was used in development for the world's first atomic bombs and many of the bombs that were developed in the following Cold War period. Today, many people have forgotten that Mallinckrodt Chemical Company, along with the Weldon Springs chemical plant in St. Charles, were two major sites in America where uranium was refined and where large amounts of radioactive waste were generated as a result. And sadly, it's a story about how hundreds of thousands of tons of radioactive waste were poorly managed and spread from one downtown production site to contaminate in excess of 100 properties in the St. Louis metropolitan area.
We were planning to interview the managers or the workers there at the site, but they came up to us and told us that we were not allowed to interview anybody without government permission. This permission would take 6 to 8 weeks to process completely. This is whenever we started to get concerned. So we hopped in the car.
Man. Hey, so that was interesting.
We tried to get an interview and they said no. Well, we have to wait 4 to 8 weeks.
So pretty much we went in there and we were looking around and I went to the bathroom, and while he was in the bathroom, me and Lauren were gonna watch this video because the lady was like, oh, if you press this button it'll show you like a 10-minute video. And I was like, okay. We're trying to watch this video and Hal comes back and he's got this awesome camera. So he's trying to record and the lady comes over and she's like, oh, you're recording? And Hal was like, yeah, it's for a school project, like I'm not posting it anywhere, it's literally for a school project. And she was like, did you ask to record? And he's like, no, I can delete it if you want. And she's like, I have to go get my manager. They come over and they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. And I was like, okay, hi. And we introduce ourselves and they start like telling us a little bit about, they don't even tell us about the place, they're just like, welcome. They don't tell us any information about the place, they're just like,
If you need an interview, you're gonna have to wait 4 to 6 weeks. And
Yeah.
you have to email this person.
yeah,
You have to list out all the questions. You have to
yeah.
send them to them so that they can review it.
It was really weird. Like, she gave me her card and she was like, if you need an email, if you need an interview, please give me a call or an email and list out all the questions. And then the guy's like, because we can't read your mind of what you're gonna ask. Do you remember that? He was like, I can't read your mind. And I was like, I asked you to read my mind.
You know?
Anyways, but so they were just like, yeah, send us the questions that you're gonna ask, and then I have to send it to my federal agency, and then they have to send it to their whatever, and like it was like this whole chain.
And it has to go through the U.S. Department of Energy for
Yeah.
8 weeks.
Yeah, and I was like, when will we be able to get an interview? And they were like, that's the issue, about 4 to 8 weeks. And I was like, why? Like, why?
From things such as being told to put our cameras down when video footage was allowed, to not being able to interview anybody there, to not being able to take any samples of rock or water from that land, we have all come to a conclusion that there might be a conspiracy that Weldon Springs and the government might be trying to hide something. Were the chemicals not properly taken care of? We might never know because we were not allowed to provide that sort of information and example.